Our United States Grand Prix.
F1 driver ratings.
Now, as we wrap up the United States Grand Prix content, it's worth mentioning the P1 Live Delusion Tour. We are coming to America, North America, in literally... I mean, we've just got back and we fly in, was it 10 days or something like that? 2nd of November, we're flying out there. So if you haven't got your tickets and you'd love to come see us, there's so much to talk about now in this F1 season. We are rewriting the live show as we speak. Every single race that we have changes it ever so slightly. So if you want to come and see us, please do. The link for the P1 Live Delusion Tour tickets will be at the top of the description, and we can't wait to see you there. Okay, let's begin and start with Gabriele Bortoleto. Started the sprint in 20th, finished it in 11th, and started the main race in 16th, finished 18th. I am going to give Gabriele Bortoleto a 4 out of 10. Underwhelming weekend for Gabriele Bortoleto. Nico Hülkenberg taking absolutely all the plaudits, all the highlights, all the limelight. Some lowlights, in fact, for Nico, but we'll get onto that very shortly. But for Gabriele, very anonymous, it has to be said. Qualifying has been his strong point this year in comparison to Nico. Didn't really shine there, didn't even set a lap time for the sprint quali. And it just was a weekend to forget for Bortoleto. Of course, he was in the mix with the Alpines right at the end. That's the only time we really ever saw him. But it's going to be a 4.
Yeah, I've gone for a 4 as well, and I'd like to apologise to Bortoleto for going for a good surprise, because he just really wasn't there all weekend compared to his teammate. A disappointing one for sure. So yeah, I've gone for a 4 as well.
The fans gave him a 4 as well. Nico Hülkenberg started the sprint in 4th, finished 13th, started the main race in 11th, finished 8th.
Yeah, I've gone for a 9. It's between an 8 and a 9, but I am going to give him a 9. The sprint, looking back at it, he was amazing in qualifying. I caught up in that turn 1 chaos, and wasn't his fault majoritively. Like, he obviously played his part, but I think really small. Yeah, that's some jet lag word.
I'm loving Tommy jet lag. Yeah. Majoritively is right.
That's my new word
in the dictionary.
But the fact that he was just so much quicker than his teammate all weekend, I don't think actually Sauber were that good. I think it was more that just Nico Hülkenberg was really, really good. So that's why I'm going for a 9.
Okay, I am going to give Nico Hülkenberg a 9 out of 10 as well. Past me, immediate reaction me, of course, said that Nico had a part to play in that turn 1 sprint. I think the only part he really played was being there. When you look at the aerial view of that sprint start, it is absolutely almost entirely on Oscar Piastri. So for those of you that didn't see the fact that we retracted, or at least I heavily retracted the statement that I'd made in the sprint, just to clarify, that is what I'm doing here, and that's why I'm giving him a 9 out of 10, because as well, in the main race, he scored a solid amount of points, showed that the Sauber did have pace, at least at the hands of Nico Hülkenberg, and he can be very proud of scoring some good points. It could have been a lot more, but yeah, the sprint did not go his way. The fans gave him an 8 out of 10. Alex Albon started the sprint in 9th, finished 6th, started the main race in 18th, finished 14th. I am going to go for a 6 out of 10 for Alex Albon. He did gain a little bit from the sprint, just purely from the absolute chaos, but a reasonable effort, and to score 3 points from the sprint can't be ignored. Of course, the main race did not go his way. He was involved in another incident. Feels like he's involved in quite a bit recently. Of course, causing him to spin. So it wasn't the best of races by any stretch. So I probably would have given him a 5 had it not been for the decent sprint result. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 6 and just say well done for putting some points on the board for Williams.
I have gone for a 5 out of 10 for Alex Albon. It's close between a 5 and a 6. I think the reason I thought it might be a 6 is because, yeah, he's got obviously the sprint points on the board, but I think a lot's been left on the table for Williams this weekend. If you look at how well they did in the sprint and how well, Sainz qualified and where he was until his incident, which we'll get onto later when we talk about him, Alex had a really disappointing race, obviously having the track limits in qualifying, which meant he started way down the order, and then having the contact at the start, which is, unfortunate, but I think it's just, you always put yourself in that position when you're near the back of the pack and racing those kind of cars. So yeah, a missed opportunity, I think, for Williams to grab some really, really good points. I know they did grab some points in the sprint, but it could have been a lot more. That's why I've gone for a 5.
The fans gave Alex Albon a 6 out of 10. Carlos Sainz started the sprint in 7th, finished 3rd, started the main race in 9th, did not finish.
I have gone for a 7 out of 10 for Carlos Sainz. Brilliant, brilliant sprint result, of course, getting another trophy. But in the main race, a great result, again in qualifying and looking like he could get some big points. He made that great move on Behrman, looking like he was going to move up the order and had some pace to be able to fight Antonelli and look like he was going to move up again, but made contact. We saw a few incidents in that corner. It wasn't the most malicious thing in the world, but it was his fault for sure. But I've gone for a 7 because obviously scored those big points in the sprint.
I've also gone for a 7 out of 10 for Carlos. The sprint was obviously a 10 out of 10 performance, getting on the podium, navigating the chaos incredibly well. But yeah, the main race was his fault. Kimi tried to give him a little bit of room, but it wasn't enough because he snatched his brake. And at the end of the day, it was a misjudgment from Carlos. It's happened before at that corner. It will happen again. But yeah, of course, that's where he's taken a large hit for his grade. Because apart from that, as you say, Tommy, it was a fantastic weekend once again for Carlos. The fans gave him a 7 also. Isaac Hadjar started the sprint in 12th, finished 12th. Started the main race in 20th, finished 16th. I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Isaac Hadjar. Similar to Bortoletto, a very anonymous, poor weekend, it has to be said, for Isaac. Just failed to set a lap time in qualifying. Was all the way, only managed to get up to 16th come the end. Of course, he started on the hards as well. But realistically, not a Hadjar performance, it has to be said. And that was all undone in qualifying because, yeah, you're screwed if you don't manage to get out of Q1. We know how much of a qualifying championship this is. And then the sprint, of course, was, considering the chaos that happened, he wasn't able to take any advantage from that as well. So it's a 4 from me.
It's a 4 from me as well for Isaac Hadjar. Yeah, kind of ruined his whole race from qualifying with that big error, and then as soon as he started on the hards, it was all downhill from there really. So I don't think Racing Bulls had the pace particularly this weekend. They didn't look particularly strong, but that being said, have to downgrade him a lot for the big qualifying error.
Absolutely. The fans gave him a 4 out of 10. Liam Lawson started the sprint in 15th, finished 9th. Started the main race in 12th, finished 11th.
I have gone for a 7 out of 10 for Liam Lawson. I think it's actually a pretty solid weekend in a pretty meh VCARB, to be honest. I think he's unlucky not to get a points finish. Arguably the worst place he can finish is 9th in the sprint and 11th in the Grand Prix. And unfortunately for Liam, he finished there in both of those. So I think he delivered more than what the VCARB had. He's done a good job, and unlucky not to get points. And it's just it is difficult to score points these days with how many drivers are in the mix in the midfield and the reliability. So yeah, I think it's actually a pretty solid result, even though he's obviously left the whole Grand Prix weekend empty-handed.
I'm in complete agreement, Tommy. I've gone for a 7 out of 10 as well for Liam Lawson, which may well have gone under the radar for some people watching. But yeah, a 9th and an 11th in a sprint weekend is, that's very much got Yuki Tsunoda P11 from that meme that he had. And to be fair, the Ollie Behrman P11 as well, meme from this year. It was, considering the VCARB has been known to be quite a quick car throughout most of this season, they were definitely lackluster this weekend. And I think Lawson extracted a pretty good amount out of that car. But sadly didn't come away with anything. The fans gave him a 6. Ollie Behrman started the sprint in 16th, finished 15th. Started the main race in 8th, finished 9th. Oh dear, this is difficult one to grade, Mr. Ollie Behrman, because you could easily have been banned for next race. I have gone for a 7 out of 10 for Ollie Behrman. Weirdly sat here thinking what could have been again, shock. Because
ding
that's
ding
just,
for the
that's
Ollie
just
Behrman.
Ollie Behrman
rating.
In a nutshell. But I think he genuinely could have finished 7th this weekend in the main race. The move, I've got to say, look, I'm a big fan of Ollie Behrman. I think he's got a huge amount of potential, as you will know if you listen to this podcast. His take after the race was pretty wild, and I really don't. I think it did not match what Tsunoda did in the car. Tsunoda covered that first part of the left-hander as he's allowed. He's allowed to go slower. He's allowed to brake early if he wants to make sure he covers it. He then sort of reacts a little bit more to the inside. Yes, that's Yuki Tsunoda I'm talking about. But again, I think he's well within his rights to do that. There was not enough space down the inside in the first place. There was no move on for Ollie Behrman. So he said, regarding the incident with Yuki, I felt like what he did was very dangerous against the spirit of the regulations and against the spirit of going racing, actually. This is not how we grow up racing. This is not how we race at this level. Not the way we want to teach people watching, young kids watching, how we should be racing, because you should not move in reaction to other cars. And that's what I felt that he did. I've got to heavily disagree with that quote. I don't think Yuki's done anything near to that level. I'm sure he's allowed to criticise and go, well, Yuki jolted a little bit to the left. But if you just watch the replay, that he should be down there anyway. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I've gone for a 7 for Ollie Behrman as well. He's a really difficult one to grade because I think he had amazing pace. And I think he could have easily got really good finishes in both these races. You know, he was running in the points, of course, in the sprint race, and then ran wide and gained an advantage from track limits, didn't give the place back, and then got a 10-second penalty. And then to go into the race where, again, he was looking very, very quick, could have got a fantastic result and did still get a solid result, which is why, you know, he's getting a 7. But it's so risky when you are so close to being banned to just be having these incidents where you're getting penalties here and penalties there. And I don't really agree with his kind of crash out. It seems extreme for what actually happened. And maybe it is a bit of frustration from the fact that, you know, he could have got a really, really good result. But it's another weekend where he shows that once he cuts out those mistakes, boy, is he going to be a really special driver.
Yeah, and it can also be sort of excused by the fact that he's a rookie. So, you know,
yeah, you almost forget because of,
these are rookie experience.
Yeah.
Of course, he's had these stand-ins, but technically this is his rookie season.
Yeah.
The fans gave Ollie Behrman a 7 as well. Esteban Ocon started the sprint in 19th, did not finish, started the main race in 17th, finished 15th.
I've gone for a 4 for Ocon. He is in struggle town at the moment, particularly in qualifying. I think at the start of the season, he was probably one of the most underrated drivers, where he was just occasionally putting the Haas into places where it didn't belong, and he'd got the odd P5 and stuff here and there, which has boosted his points massively. But I don't know if what is going on at the moment, and if he's just trying new things or whatever, but he just looks nowhere compared to his teammate, particularly in qualifying. And yeah, it feels like a long time since we've seen really anything at all from Ocon.
I've also gone for a 4 out of 10 for Ocon. It's, I think, a deserving grade, sadly, just purely because of what Ollie Behrman, his rookie teammate, was showing this weekend. I'm just looking back at his results, and he scored a point in the Netherlands, in Zandvoort, but the other 7 races around it, so the 4 we've just had, no points. The 3 before Zandvoort, no points. But then you look at the first half of the season, you know, he's scoring a 5th in China, an 8th in Bahrain, a 7th in Monaco, a 9th in Canada, and a 10th in Austria.
And he got a good sprint result as well. I think it was at Spa. I think he got a P5 in that as well. So
yeah, so in terms of his position in the championship, he's 15th now. So I think he is falling down from where he was after the first half of the season. But yeah, he's very much in a slump at the moment, and something I hope he is able to turn around. The fans gave him a 4 as well. Franco Colapinto started the sprint in 17th, finished 14th, started the main race in 15th, finished 17th. For Franco, I am going to lock in a 6 out of 10. It is, again, a very good performance when you compare it to Pierre Gasly, which is literally the only thing we can still do because that Alpine is absolute garbage. I also want to say that I think Alpine were completely out of order for trying to stop Franco going through on his teammate. The absolute normal situation, especially when there's another team behind you, is to let the faster car through. So whether there's some weird tension there, a message from someone up the top of Alpine to say, no, don't let Franco through because it looks bad on Pierre. I don't know what it is, because there's only a few things in my head that make sense for why they would have tried that. So for me, Franco, all he needs to do is beat his teammate. He's done that, and I firmly believe he is very much deserving of that seat for next year.
I have gone for a 5 out of 10 for Franco Colapinto. Yeah, another solid weekend from him. Not amazing. I think last race, particularly good from him. This one, it's really impressive how he's managing to consistently sort of like match Gasly now. And I completely agree that I think he's shown enough now. He seems to have, touch wood, kind of the mistakes are being cut out. And I think if he just has a solid end to the year without any mistakes, he will get the seat. There's obviously a few question marks of, was it the right thing to do to disobey team orders when you're trying to get a drive from them? But I think it's completely unfair how Alpine put him in that position in the first place, so I can't really blame him for going for the move when he had such a tyre advantage.
The fans gave Franco a 5 out of 10. Pierre Gasly started the sprint in 13th, finished 10th. Started the main race in 14th, finished 19th.
I have gone for a 5 out of 10 for Pierre Gasly. Gone for the same for two Alpines. I think Gasly impressed more in qualifying and the sprint, but of course Franco's beaten him in the race. I think it's quite close between the two of them. I think Gasly in that race in particular looked like he had some really good pace in qualifying. So could it have been one of those races where they bagged a point, particularly after the sprint chaos? It's so rare now for them to get points. It's been so long. But alas, no. And they were trundling around at the back.
For Pierre, I've gone for a 5 out of 10. The sprint was definitely better, but of course, huge amount of chaos and a lot of positions gained that way. And then in the main race, finishing 19th, for his experience, for what he's been able to achieve, Franco is impressing more at this point at Alpine, so I can't give him the same grade just purely because he's been beaten by his rookie teammate. And is it rookie? It's still technically a rookie. He hasn't had a full season. So Pierre Gasly, it's a 5 out of 10 from me. The fans gave him a 5 as well. Lance Stroll started the sprint in 14th, did not finish, shock, we can talk about that. And then in the main race started 19th after being penalised 5 places and finished 12th. 4 out of 10 for Lance Stroll. Absolutely diabolical move in the sprint. He went for something that I'm sorry to say, but his talent does not match up to those kind of moves. And he tried it, he locked up, and he yeeted Ocon into another dimension. And then in the main race, I think Alonso was trying to help him. Was he not? I'm pretty sure Alonso was backing up the pack to try and get Stroll a good position, and he still wasn't able to do that. So it probably would have been a 5 had it been just the normal Grand Prix, but I've got to take into account the sprint, so it's a 4.
I've gone for a 4 as well for Lance Stroll, yeah. His result in the end, a P12 isn't that bad reading, but I have to take into account, his qualifying performance all weekend compared to his teammate was poor, but I guess, we expect it now. I think it's 30 consecutive, beaten by your teammate in qualifying, which is insane. And then, the sprint move was ridiculous, which, of course, puts him on the back foot for the race, although it doesn't matter when you qualify poorly anyway. So, one to forget for Stroll.
The fans gave Lance a 4 out of 10. Fernando Alonso started the sprint in 6th, did not finish. Started the main race in 10th, finished 10th.
I've gone for an 8 out of 10 for Fernando Alonso. His result in the Grand Prix, I don't think Aston looked particularly quick these days, and he bagged a point and a decent qualifying. I think in the sprint, I've got to kind of give him credit there, like I did for Hülkenberg, that he was on for a really, really, really good result. And of course, ended up in the chaos and getting taken out. And as he said, has no luck at all. So I think would have bagged a really strong finish there as well. So that's why I've gone for an 8.
A 7 out of 10 for Fernando Alonso. I think it's very close between a 7 and an 8. Of course, qualified well for the sprint, didn't finish. And then in the main race, it's all right. It's a point, isn't it? I did read, as I mentioned with Lance, I believe he was trying to help his teammate. They were slow in the race, Aston Martin, and Alonso couldn't make any progress from P10. 7's not a bad grade. I don't know if I can give him an 8. Obviously, with the benefit of the doubt of the sprint, you could weigh either way. But it's a 7 from me. The fans also gave him a 7 out of 10.
How dare you?
Oh, God, you just get so angry about the Alonso grades, don't you? He's just, what a guy.
No, the fans just don't like him.
Ooh, jet lag Tommy, just popping that one out there. Remember, we're biased, Tommy, not the fans.
Yeah, of course.
Who don't have favourite drivers. Kimi Antonelli started the sprint in 11th, finished 8th, started the main race in 7th, finished 13th. Kimi Antonelli is going to receive a 6 out of 10. Unlucky, of course, to be taken out in the main race with Carlos. He did, give him a little bit of room. Whether more experienced drivers would have seen that coming and just kind of almost driven off the circuit to make sure he didn't get hit, I don't know. That's not for me to potentially judge, but it's definitely a thought in my head. That being said, it's not his fault. He was just literally just driving around, and Carlos went for an audacious move and hit him, and it's Carlos's prerogative to not hit Kimi. The sprint, of course, he scored a point, but realistically, not the greatest of weekends for Kimi, but also not like he was completely and utterly off the pace and deserves anything lower than a 6, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've gone for a 6 as well. It's very much a kind of not terrible, but also not particularly great weekend. Obviously, the result, I think, could have had a really decent points finish. Looked like he was maybe potentially going to finish behind his teammate, although who knows, because it was so early in the race. Of course, he got hit, but he was running there after a much better qualifying. But the sprint start at where he started in the sprint was poor, and who knows, had he been further up, we of course saw the chaos at the start, and that's how people ended up with really fantastic results. So yeah, it's just a case of, I think for him, if this is a bad weekend, I think that's a much better bad threshold than what he was having earlier, so he'll take it.
Yeah, he's upped that bad weekend sort of line, hasn't he? Which is very important for him. The fans gave him a 6 as well. George Russell started the sprint in 5th, finished 2nd, started the main race in 4th, finished 6th.
Ooh, this one's a difficult one. I'm going to go for an 8 out of 10 for George Russell. Close between a 7 and an 8. But I do think he got a good amount of what he could with his car this weekend, of course. Sprint result was his highlight. Looked like he had a good amount of pace, and at the start looking like he was, of course, challenging Max for the victory. Didn't have that same pace in the main race, and it very much looked like Mercedes were kind of 4th best. So I've gone for an 8 though, because I think it's a good amount of points from a weekend where I don't think Mercedes were particularly great.
I've gone for a 7 out of 10 for George. He lost 2 positions at the start of the main race, which sometimes is a little bit of luck of the draw in turn 1, but also you have to position your car as well as you can. That outside swooping line is what paid dividends for Oscar and for Lewis coming through on George. He said that qualifying is obviously so important, and that first lap after the race, and had he stayed in 4th, he said he would have finished 4th. If he'd got up to P3, he probably would have finished 3rd. So to finish 6th in the main race when there is definitely more on the table means I'm going to go for a 7. Of course, the sprint was very good. Finished 2nd there and took advantage of the absolute carnage that unfolded in front of him. So the fans gave him a 7 out of 10. Yuki Tsunoda started the sprint in 18th, finished 7th. Started the main race in 13th, finished 7th. Might be an unpopular one, but I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 for Yuki Tsunoda. Yes, he has finished in 2 7th places, but he is absolute light years behind Max Verstappen, who has dominated the entire sprint weekend. It would be a disservice to Sergio Perez and those that have gone before him to give him any higher than a 6 out of 10. Yes, he struggled with the car. How do you then incorporate that in your grades? I genuinely think 6 is a very fair grade for Yuki. He finished what was it? I'm looking now. I'm just doing the maths. It's over 40 seconds behind.
He was
Max Verstappen.
52 seconds.
52, yeah. So I was just looking at the board and adding them all together. 52 seconds behind Max. His qualifying was poor in both of the sessions this weekend. Of course, did well in the races to score some points, but he is driving the race-winning car, so it's a 6.
I have gone for a 6 out of 10 for Yuki Tsunoda, and I was actually umming between a 5 and a 6.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's it's such a difficult one because on paper you're like 7th and 7th, perfect. Like this is what Red Bull need to be doing, but Red Bull, and I know it's so different because we all know the second car, and it's all very different, and they are a unique team to judge, but Red Bull aren't, certainly in Max's hands, the 4th best car anymore. You can argue that they're even the best car now, or very much at least on par with McLaren now in Max's hands. So Yuki is, 52 seconds is so far off. No one else is that far behind their teammate.
Almost a second a lap. So.
Yeah, exactly. And even the sprint finish, I'm not trying to kind of discredit what he's done to get a 7th place, but of course he qualified 18th, and it was almost like Esteban Ocon Hungary situation where the sea just parted for him.
I will just argue and say that Red Bull did not do him any favours in that final part of sprint qualifying.
No,
as well.
Where he got blocked, of course, but he didn't have any particular pace in qualifying anyway. Before that, he was down in 14th.
On the back foot, yeah.
So yeah, I just I can't give him a higher grade for being that far off.
There you go then. Let us know your thoughts. I'm sure you already have. The fans have given him a 7 out of 10.
Same as Fernando Alonso. Crazy. But I'm biased.
Please like the video if you enjoyed, and we will see you next week. Max Verstappen started the sprint in first, finished first. Started the main race in first, finished first.
I've gone for a 10 out of 10 for Max Verstappen. It's the perfect weekend. The fact that he just dominated. I don't think the Red Bull has improved a lot. I don't think it certainly wasn't light years ahead of the McLaren this weekend. He just delivered the perfect weekend to top all the sessions at a sprint weekend. When it's how you see it, isn't it? Like, is the pressure on or is the pressure off? He needs to be perfect, but the pressure is off in the sense that, like, he's the underdog, so that he's kind of thriving from that. But also at the same time, it is a huge amount of pressure because he literally can't put a foot wrong if he wants to stay in this title. And he didn't. First in everything. Just amazing weekend. And yeah, it piles that pressure onto McLaren now.
I've gone for a 10 out of 10 as well. Unsurprisingly for Max Verstappen, I do believe, that he was not that far ahead in terms of the pace. Charles Leclerc did him a massive favour in the main race to give him that buffer, because I think Lando, once in clean air, showed that he was at least on par with Max Verstappen's race pace. Going back to your point, Tommy, about pressure, I personally believe that Max is feeling no pressure whatsoever. I feel like he's so ingrained in Formula One anyway. He's been in championship fights many, many seasons, sometimes just only fighting himself in 2023, for example. And it was interesting, there was an interview that he did, I believe it was after the race, where he kind of just, I think the question was, you feeling the pressure and stuff like that, and things like that. And he just sort of turns it around into, well, it's an opportunity. There's not, you kind of sense that he was not feeling the pressure. And I personally think he is absolutely relishing the fact that he's the underdog. It just is such an exciting thing for him that he was probably losing interest halfway through this season with his car being absolutely nowhere compared to McLaren. It's now not losing interest in terms of not trying, but just, you get slightly distracted. You think about GT racing and things like that. But now he's absolutely locked in. He firmly believes he can win this championship, and it is going to be a very scary Max Verstappen, I think, between now and the end of the season. Like, if I'm Oscar Piastri, I know that he said after this weekend, I'd rather be in my position than the other twos. I'd be shaking. I would, and this is why I'm not a Formula One driver, I would be absolutely shaking in my boots that Max is 40 points behind with 5 races and 2 sprints to go. Because anything can happen, and we're going to be there every step of the way. The fans gave Max a 10 as well. Lewis Hamilton started the sprint in 8th, finished 4th. Started the main race in 5th, finished 4th. I have gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton this weekend. I think it was a very good one from him. Very unfortunate to not unfortunate, but just so tantalisingly close to getting another podium, at least in that first phase of the race. He wasn't able to really utilise the soft tyres in that second stint. I think he had a puncture scare as well towards the end, which allowed Oscar to really close up at the end. But when you compare Lewis and Charles, Lewis was better in the sprint. Charles made that mistake. In the main race, of course, Charles really excelled, but I think Lewis, even though he finished 13 seconds behind his teammate, I don't think that truly represents what a good weekend it has been for Lewis when you consider the season he has had.
Yeah, I've gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton as well. A much more solid performance from him this weekend. 2 fourth places, still obviously, of course, tantalisingly close in results, at the least to that podium that he's still not achieved at Ferrari yet. But look, this is exactly kind of what we expected more from Hamilton. That even if he's not beating Charles Leclerc at the moment, this is more kind of along the lines of the Lewis Hamilton we know, of course, still in a new team, still learning his new environment. And if this is the kind of more of the baseline, then it's much more impressive from Hamilton. So yeah, a good weekend and good points for Ferrari in the fight for second place.
The fans gave Lewis Hamilton an 8 as well. Charles Leclerc started the sprint in 10th, finished 5th. Started the main race in 3rd, finished 3rd.
I have gone for a 9 out of 10 for Charles Leclerc. I think his race in particular was very, very good. I don't think Ferrari had the pace to challenge. Obviously, he made that kind of gamble, if you like. Well, they didn't turn out to be too much of a gamble in the end when we saw that the hard tyres didn't work at all, of course. But starting on the softs, got ahead of Lando, managed to hold him up for a long time, which I think was a mixture of Charles' great defensive driving, but also a little bit of Lando and kind of probably being in championship mode as well, and managing the kind of risk there. So yeah, a really good result. Can't be a 10, I think, because of obviously the sprint and being beaten by Hamilton there, but a really, really good weekend from Charles, and just a reminder that he's had a few times this year where if he gets the car as well, he can also be fighting these drivers like Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, everyone as well. So yeah, a good performance.
I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Charles Leclerc. It's fully deserving, I think. I think the main race, the main weekend, not much more he could have really done. In the sprint, of course, he had a poor qualifying, but his first lap in the sprint was genuinely like Mario Kart, just avoiding all of the carnage, the debris and everything else. Made that small mistake in the sprint, of course, which put Hamilton through. But yeah, it was an unbelievable display on Sunday. So I think a 9 is very deserving. The fans gave Charles a 9 as well. Oscar Piastri started the sprint in 3rd, did not finish. Started the main race in 6th, finished 5th. Well. Here we are at one of the most controversial grades, I'd imagine, and most divisive grades. I am going to go for a 5 out of 10 for Oscar Piastri. Close between even downgrading in one more, but I'm gonna lock in a 5. His qualifying was okay for the sprint. Then it was absolutely his fault what happened at turn 1. It's not the same move as, in my head, right? The way I'm trying to sort of grade this, it's not the same move as locking up and doing a Lance Stroll and just yeeting someone into non-existence. What I would put that down to is inexperience and tunnel visioning towards Lando Norris. Of course, the grade is still low anyway at 5 out of 10. But it was his fault. Had he been more sensible and not forgotten about the other cars behind him, that incident wouldn't have happened. And then in the main race, again, qualifying was poor, P6, when your teammate is up in the front row. And then he was very anonymous during the race. He still finished 5th. He didn't get beaten by George Russell. It's still points for Oscar Piastri, but I cannot in any realm give him any higher than a 5 out of 10.
I can't give him a 5. I will give him a 4 out of 10. I think it's a really poor weekend from Oscar Piastri. I think what's most concerning is just the pace. All weekend was really poor from him. The sprint move, of course, in a weird way, it's not a 4 because I think, he deserved a penalty and his sprint move was outrageous. It was incredibly risky, and that is part of the kind of downgrading here. But the reason I'm giving him a 4 is just how slow he looked all weekend. He just wasn't able to find anything. He was 0.3 off Lando in qualifying in the sprint. He was almost 0.3 again behind Lando in qualifying, which is a massive margin. And then in the race, he was 22 seconds off Lando. These are huge margins, and we know that Piastri is not that driver because he's been really, really, really good this year. That's why he's leading the World Championship. But yeah, he's just had no pace this weekend. He was not delivering compared to his teammate, and it's just such a shocking time for him to do it when the pressure is really ramping up as well.
So it's probably worth because I feel like there will be people listening that question our grades. I mean, it literally happens every single weekend.
Really?
Yeah. But I think maybe we just go into a little bit more about how we can give Oscar Piastri a 4 out of 10, for example. He said 22 seconds off his teammate. But Yuki Tsunoda, who finished 52 seconds behind his teammate, and it's a 6 out of 10. So just maybe explain, because obviously I've given a 5, it's slightly less harsh, what your thinking is there. Why did he deserve so much lower than a Yuki in this example?
Because that also takes into grade what their teammate got. Spoiler alert, Lando's not getting a 10. And also the fact that, you do grade a little bit on what you expect of a driver, and Oscar Piastri's leading the World Championship. He's had a brilliant season. Particularly, first half of the season, I think he was comfortably quicker than Lando Norris. So we know he's much quicker. So for him to be... This is the only race I can remember all season where he's just not looked anywhere compared to his teammate, and that's why it's such a poor grade for me. Yep,
there you go. Just explaining, because everybody has their own grades, and whatever they decide to give is totally a personal thing. Also, just to mention, downvoting the YouTube video is not meant for when you disagree with our grades. It's usually you just comment and go, "Oh, I don't agree with that grade." Just thought I'd let you know about that one. The fans gave Oscar Piastri a 5 out of 10.
So if you like drive ratings, give it a like.
Yeah. And that's a great
if you like the
say,
series.
If you like the series, if you like the fact we don't agree, give us a little thumbs up. Let us know you enjoy the series.
Because it'd be a really boring video if we all put the same.
I know, right? Wouldn't it? Why don't we all just have the same and live in
Could have
harmony?
just been an email, couldn't it, really, if that was the case?
Lando Norris started the sprint in second, did not finish, started the main race in second, finished second.
I've gone 4, an 8 out of 10 for Lando Norris. I think he had a good, solid weekend. Obviously, I think the reason I'm not giving him a 9 is because I do think that the McLaren had good pace. Obviously, the sprint is not his fault at all. But in the main race, I think he, and maybe understandably, very cautious at the start, particularly with not making moves on Charles. And had he got past him earlier, could he have fought Max Verstappen for the win? I certainly think so. Whether it had got past him or not is another bet. But this felt like just a solid, consistent drive from someone going for the World Championship and maybe playing that percentage game. So that's why I've gone for an 8.
I have also gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lando Norris. Very unlucky in the sprint, qualified well for the sprint. I think the main race, had he finished just second behind Max and got through on Charles Leclerc early, probably would have been a 9. The downgrade is from the cautiousness. It's not a 4, it's not a 5, it's an 8 out of 10. It's still a strong grade. But yeah, we kind of came into this weekend saying we're not going to take it away from him or criticise him for being cautious on Max Verstappen. But when you're behind Charles Leclerc, who is, I mean, Charles even said after the race, that, or basically insinuated that the Ferrari is not as quick as the McLaren by quite some margin. But he was still able to hold Lando until, 5 laps to go. Of course, Ferrari, I think, did a very good strategy to put Charles in the mix there. But Lando's cautiousness did affect him and affect his ability to even put any pressure on Max Verstappen. Max wouldn't have felt that throughout the entire race. So it's an 8 out of 10 for me for Lando. It's still a good enough result that he is well within the championship hunt. I am constantly changing my mind as to who's the favourite, but I think Lando is being slept on slightly here. And if Oscar's form continues this way, Lando can very easily clinch this championship. So these kind of performances are absolutely fine. Can't allow Max to win every single one of them, but if he's finishing seconds consistently...
I mean, they can do if they want. Please feel free to.
If he finishes second consistently, he'll have a very good opportunity to win the championship. If Oscar beats him a couple of times, but then Max beats him 3 other times, maths on the spot, he's probably got a good shout of still winning. So, good performance from Lando. The fans gave him an 8 as well. Finally, who is our P1? Max Verstappen. It has to be Max Verstappen, because I'm pretty sure he's the only 10 I've given. But also, even if there were 20 10 out of 10s here, it was the absolute definition of a perfect weekend for Max. Untouchable. And, oh my goodness gracious me, 40 points to go. Get that tattoo booked, Tommy.
I am going for Max Verstappen. Yeah, wasn't
that the only 10 you gave as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, good suspense. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so clearly Max Verstappen. I'd probably argue that this might even be the easiest giving P1, because the fact that he's won literally everything and no one else has got a 10. So easy dubs for Max Verstappen.
Easy dubs indeed. Right, that is it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Driver Ratings for the United States Grand Prix. We'll be back literally in less than a week to do another Driver Ratings for the Mexico City Grand Prix. Will it be another 10 for Max Verstappen? Will he be closing in? Will he be within a win, Tommy, come the end of Mexico? Can you imagine? Another? Well, you say I doubt that. He gained 23 points on Piastri.
I've been saying every time I've gone, well, he needs to do this, and then we'll do that the next race.
Or is better than what you even say.
Very true.
So there you go. As well, I want to say thank you for bearing with us with us being around and slightly slower with everything. We're back to normal now, before we then go, of course, for the P1 Live Delusion Tour. Tickets still available if you want to come and see us. It's going to be very exciting. We love going around America, don't we, Tommy? The energy at the shows are just something that you just cannot get enough of. Hence why we're doing another batch of shows. So we'd love to see you there. Take care. Tommy, I forgot to say what your final thoughts. So give us your jet-lagged final thoughts whilst we wave.
Get those tickets for the show, because it's going to be good. And
Tommy won't be tired there.
I won't be tired.
But my God, is he sassy.
I'm looking forward to rewriting his
Tommy Live is something
show.
You have to experience, by the way. I'm just saying. My God, this man pops off. Bye.
And not just about Fernando Alonso.
Oh, Fernando's so great. 10 out of 10. Everything he does, the way he breathes. God, he's actually
an 8.